Vanessa Carlyle had just finished a seafood dinner worth nearly $10,000 when she placed a $100 bill on the host stand and said, "Treat the rest as relationship-building expenses for Ryan. I brought his entire executive team here. You should be thanking me." I looked at the bill in front of me. 12 Alaskan snow crabs, 2 platters of Kumamoto oysters, 4 portions of black cod, 3 bottles of vintage champagne, a private room with nearly 4 hours of service. The total was $9,684.70, including tax and service charge. Vanessa pushed the bill toward me as if she were doing me a favor. "I saw Chicago Restaurant Week menus for less than $100. Don't tell me your restaurant doesn't know how to be flexible." "Tide and Ember is not participating in Restaurant Week," I said, "and this was not a one-person prix-fixe menu." She tilted her head, diamond earrings catching the light. "Ryan said you would take care of us. You should not embarrass your husband in front of his superiors over a few $1,000s. I did not know what chilled me more in that moment, the way Vanessa used my husband's first name with such familiarity, or how certain she was that my business could be spent to purchase his promotion. "My name is Evelyn Brooks. I was 35 years old and owned Tide and Ember, a seafood restaurant in Chicago's River North neighborhood. I opened the restaurant 7 years earlier, starting with a weekend market stall that sold lobster rolls. I did not have wealthy parents, an investment fund, or a husband rich enough to buy me a kitchen. I took out a bank loan, sold my first condo, worked 3 jobs for 2 years. Then I met Ryan Mercer. Ryan and I met when he was a junior financial analyst at Northlake Development Group. He ate lunch at my stall almost every week, usually ordering chowder with extra bread and sitting nearby until I packed up. When we married, Tide and Ember was still a 30-seat restaurant. Ryan helped me build cost spreadsheets, negotiate with the bank, and set up the payment system. He never owned the restaurant, but during the first 2 years he had an administrator account so he could help with bookkeeping while I was busy in the kitchen. Later, after I hired a professional accountant, I believed that account had been disabled. I believed many things. Vanessa Carlyle had worked with Ryan at a small consulting firm before both of them joined Northlake. She was the daughter of Thomas Carlyle, a major shareholder and executive chair of the company. I had met Vanessa only twice before that night. The first time was at Northlake's holiday party. She wore a silver dress, held a martini, and told me how admirable it was that someone, without a background, had managed to open a restaurant in River North. The second time, she brought coworkers in for brunch. Ryan introduced us by saying, "Vanessa is the person who helped me get onto the Lakeshore project. I once believed it was only a professional relationship." On the night of the seafood dinner, Vanessa booked the private room under the name Northlake Executive Strategy Dinner. She did not request an event contract, ask about a discount, or say Northlake would pay the bill. My events manager emailed the menu, pricing, and cancellation policy. Vanessa replied, "Looks perfect. Ryan said you would take care of us." My staff understood "take care of us" to mean excellent service. Vanessa understood it to mean free food. I set the bill down. "You received the pricing and confirmed it by email. Please make payment." Vanessa stepped closer and lowered her voice. The room contained the vice president of projects, the regional finance director, and 2 people who can decide whether Ryan becomes a director. Are you really going to destroy your husband's future over one invoice? If Northlake organized a company dinner, it can pay through a corporate account. This was a private gathering. Then the person who booked it pays. She gave a cold laugh. Ryan was right. You only see the numbers in front of you. I run a restaurant. If I do not watch the numbers, 42 employees do not get paid. Vanessa swiped one card, but it was declined. Her face reddened. She tried another card. This time, the transaction went through. Before leaving, she leaned across the host stand. "You will regret making me pay this." I replied, The restaurant will email the receipt. You may expense it if this was truly a business event." She turned and walked away. Maya Chen, my operations manager, exhaled behind me. I've never seen anyone order almost $3,000 in champagne and then ask why it wasn't covered by a promotional prix-fixe menu. I rubbed my temples. Save every email and the host stand camera footage. Maya looked at me. What do you think she will do? I don't know yet. The next morning, I arrived at the restaurant at 8. The overnight accountant was waiting in my office. Evelyn, the private room charge from last night was fully refunded. For a moment, I thought I had misheard. It was what? Refunded. $9,684.70. Who approved it? She turned the monitor toward me. The transaction history showed the username RMERC Adron, Ryan's old account. The refund had been processed at 1:18 a.m. from an IP address registered to our home. In the notes, he had written, VIP relationship adjustment, approved by ownership. I stared at approved by ownership until my eyes hurt. Ryan is not an owner. His account still had refund privileges because it came from the old system. I did not know. Lock it now. Change every password. Require two-factor approval for any refund above $500. I called Ryan. He answered on the second ring. I assume this is about last night's bill. You refunded Vanessa? Yes, using the restaurant's administrator account. I corrected a situation you handled too rigidly. You had no authority. Evelyn, Vanessa brought senior leadership into your restaurant. Do you understand how important those people are? They consumed almost $10,000 worth of food and alcohol. That was marketing. Marketing has to be approved by me. Ryan exhaled sharply. You always turn everything into a control issue, because it is my company. Your company exists partly because I helped build it. You helped with bookkeeping. That did not give you the right to remove money from the business. Stop talking as if I stole from you. You used an old account, issued a refund behind my back, and wrote that ownership approved it. What would you call that? There was silence for several seconds. Then Ryan's voice went cold. I'm going into a meeting. We will discuss this tonight. He ended the call. I contacted my business attorney, sent him the transaction logs, and asked him to prepare a demand letter. According to counsel, Vanessa had paid a valid invoice. Ryan's unauthorized refund did not erase her payment obligation because he had no authority to represent Tide and Ember. We sent a new invoice, the original payment confirmation, the booking emails, and a demand for payment within 24 hours. Vanessa replied with one line, Ryan already handled it. Stop harassing me. I did not take a bullhorn into the company lobby like someone who had lost control. I took documents. Maya came with me. We reached Northlake near noon and asked to speak with Vanessa or a representative from finance. Reception called the 17th floor, then told us. Ms. Carlisle says the invoice has been resolved. She will not come down. I handed over an envelope. This is the final notice before the restaurant files a civil claim and reports an unauthorized financial transaction. Please deliver it to Northlake's legal department. The receptionist accepted it, but security had already started walking toward us. At that moment, the elevator doors opened. Vanessa stepped out with 3 coworkers. She stopped when she saw me. What are you doing here? Collecting what you owe. I owe nothing. Ryan issued a refund without authorization. Counsel confirmed it. Several people passing through the lobby began slowing down. Vanessa looked around and laughed loudly. You actually came to your husband's workplace to create a scene over a dinner? I came to deliver legal notice. You are the one creating a scene. She snatched the envelope from the receptionist, tore it open, skimmed several lines, and threw it on the floor. You intend to sue the daughter of a board member? I intend to sue the person who refused to pay an invoice. Do you know how badly this will embarrass Ryan? I know how 42 employees depend on me to make payroll. Vanessa stepped closer. How much do you want? $9,684.70, the exact amount on the invoice. Ryan said it was a gift. Ryan does not own Tide and Ember. Every eye in the lobby had turned toward us. Vanessa realized that the longer this continued, the more widely the story would spread. She pulled out her phone. Send me the payment instructions. I gave her the restaurant's wire information. 10 minutes later, accounting confirmed that the funds had arrived. Vanessa looked at me, her expression stripped of false politeness. You just chose one invoice over your husband's career. I said, no. Ryan chose to use his wife's business to purchase a career for himself. I picked up the torn envelope and walked away. Before the glass doors closed behind me, I heard Vanessa speaking to Ryan on the phone. Your wife really doesn't know her place. I did not yet know how Ryan would respond. But less than an hour later, dozens of one-star reviews began appearing on the restaurant's page. The first review included a photograph of a greasy kitchen. It was not Tide and Ember's kitchen. The second claimed that the oysters smelled like ammonia. The third claimed to be from a former supplier and accused us of thawing frozen seafood while advertising it as fresh. Within 2 hours, the number of one-star reviews rose from 31 to more than 180. Some of the accounts had been created during the same week. Many of the reviews used nearly identical wording. Maya stood beside me in the office, refreshing the screen again and again. These are not real customers. I know. The reservation line rang nonstop. A 6-person birthday dinner canceled. A law firm canceled a client reception. 3 private rooms for the weekend were released. The kitchen had already received seafood for more than 200 portions. Crab, scallops, black cod, and lobster all had short shelf lives. Maya asked, should we close tonight? If we close, they will say we are hiding. I called an online reputation management firm, sent them the review data, and asked the platforms to investigate coordinated activity. Then, I went downstairs to the kitchen. Turn on the cameras. Executive Chef Marcus Hale looked at me. Livestream? Livestream the entire preparation process. No editing. We filmed the receiving area, temperature records, sealed seafood containers, supplier labels, sinks, and cold storage. Marcus inspected each oyster on camera. The black cod was weighed in front of viewers. The lobsters were alive in the tank. I did not cry, talk about being bullied, or name Vanessa. I only said, accusations are spreading. These are today's ingredients, today's delivery invoices, and our current kitchen procedures. Customers have the right to see them. At first, the comments were filled with attacks. Then several chefs and food service workers began asking technical questions. What temperature was the cold storage? Where were the oysters sourced? Did the restaurant keep product recall records? We answered. The mood slowly shifted, but proving the kitchen was clean did not turn prepared seafood back into cash. I looked at the clock. 4:45 p.m. River North and the Loop would empty out in about an hour. I turned to Marcus. Convert all prepped ingredients into dinner boxes. He frowned. What menu? Lemon butter rice, black cod or shrimp, roasted vegetables, and a small chowder. $18 per box. Crab and scallop boxes for $22. Tonight only. Maya said, that is almost cost. At least we cover labor and avoid throwing the food away. We listed the orders on the website, capped inventory at the actual number of portions, and invited nearby offices to pick up during scheduled time windows. The live stream continued. A nurse ordered 12 boxes for a night shift. An advertising agency ordered 30. Employees from the building across the street came downstairs and formed a line. By 7, we had sold more than 200 boxes. The profit was small, but we did not discard a truckload of seafood. Maya held the order sheet, her eyes bright. Customers are asking whether we will do this again tomorrow. Not yet. We need correct pricing and permits before doing large-scale takeout. I wrote the question in my notebook. I did not know then that those emergency meal boxes would become the foundation of the largest business I would ever build. I arrived home close to 10. Ryan sat in the living room with a glass of bourbon. He had quit smoking more than a year earlier because we planned to begin fertility treatment in the fall. That night, 2 cigarette butts sat in an ashtray. I set down my bag. "You are smoking again?" Ryan did not look at me. The Lakeshore project was taken away from my team. Why? Because Vanessa said you humiliated her in front of the entire company. I delivered a demand letter. You made her pay almost $10,000 in the lobby. She consumed almost $10,000 in food and alcohol. Ryan stood. You could have let me handle it. Your handling involved taking money from the restaurant and refunding her. I was building a relationship with money that did not belong to you. We are married. Tide and Ember is a separate LLC, you know that. Ryan gave a bitter laugh. Right. Whenever it benefits you, we are a team. Whenever I need help, everything becomes yours alone. I personally guaranteed the restaurant loan. You did not sign that debt. I helped you from the beginning, and I am grateful. Gratitude is not a permanent power of attorney. He looked at me as though I were a stranger. Vanessa could put me into a director position. My income would increase by more than $100,000 a year. You couldn't sacrifice one meal for that? It was not a meal for you and me in our kitchen. It was inventory, employee wages, taxes, and business profit. You only care about the restaurant. And you care about Vanessa. The room went silent. Ryan looked away. Do not turn a work issue into jealousy. Then explain why she was certain you promised to waive the bill. I said I would take care of their table. She used the exact phrase in her email. It was a misunderstanding. You also kept an old administrator account without telling me. I forgot. But you remembered the password at 1 in the morning. Ryan clenched his jaw. I'm tired. He walked into the home office and closed the door. I lay in bed but could not sleep. Near 1 in the morning, I went downstairs for water. As I passed the office, I heard a woman's voice through the laptop speakers. What evidence does she still have about the refund? I stopped. Ryan's voice was lower and gentler than the one he had used with me for months. Only the system log. I told them it was an old account. Vanessa replied, Legal is asking why I used a personal dinner to invite executives. If she sues, my father will hear about it. I will make her withdraw. How? The restaurant is losing customers. Give it a few weeks. When she cannot make payroll, she will have to sell or shut down. Vanessa laughed. And then? Then I file for divorce. She will have no reason to stay in Chicago. The glass in my hand felt like ice. Vanessa continued. My father promised that if the Lakeshore situation works out, he will support you for director. But I do not want to keep hiding forever. Ryan said. I know. Do you love me? There was a pause. Then he said, Yes. I had lived with Ryan for 9 years. I knew every kind of silence he used. When he lied, when he was afraid, when he was calculating. That yes was not love. It was a transaction, but that did not make it hurt less. I pushed open the door. Ryan jumped to his feet. Vanessa was on the screen wearing a silk robe, her hair loose over her shoulders. She did not turn off the camera immediately. For one moment, the three of us stared at one another. Ryan spoke first. You were listening? I looked at him. You are planning to destroy your wife's business inside your wife's house, and your concern is privacy? Vanessa said, Evelyn, whatever you and Ryan had ended a long time ago, you are simply refusing to see it. I stepped toward the desk. What media company are you using to purchase the reviews? Her eyes shifted almost imperceptibly. Ryan moved in front of the laptop. Do not drag Vanessa into this. I heard her name in the plan to make the restaurant miss payroll. You have no proof. I placed my phone, which had been recording, on the desk. Now I have part of it. Ryan lunged forward, but I grabbed the phone and stepped back. He stopped. I said, "My divorce attorney will contact you tomorrow. Leave the house by noon." Ryan laughed coldly. The house is in both our names. That is true. You may refuse to leave. If you stay, counsel will seek exclusive use and an asset preservation order. Either option is available. Vanessa said from the screen, "Ryan, do not argue with her. You can stay with me." I looked at him. "Go." Ryan closed the laptop and took his coat. Before leaving, he said, "You will regret choosing a restaurant over our marriage." I replied, "You chose a promotion over both." The door closed. I stood alone in the house. I did not break anything. I did not call my parents. I did not post online. I backed up the recording, photographed the administrator account records, sent everything to my business attorney, and scheduled an appointment with a family law attorney. The next morning, red paint had been thrown across Tide and Ember's glass doors. The words read, "Rat Kitchen." An hour later, 3 videos appeared online in which strangers claimed they became sick after eating our meal boxes, found hair in the food, and discovered a metal screw inside one container. Nobody on the order list recognized them. One video used packaging that was not ours. But truth takes time to explain. Disgust needs only one image. I turned on the camera outside the restaurant and filmed the red paint and the fake packaging used in the videos. "This is a Tide and Ember container," I said. "This is the container shown in the video. The dimensions, locking tab, and labeling are completely different. We have turned over transaction records, receiving area footage, and ingredient documentation to counsel." Comments still rushed across the screen. Some believed me, some doubted me. Some simply wanted to watch a business collapse. I did not argue with each person. I instructed staff to preserve every URL, account name, posting time, and original video. By 11, 3 suppliers had arrived. The first was Victor Salazar, the representative from the seafood company that had worked with me for nearly 4 years. He placed a packet on the counter. "Evelyn, our trade credit insurer has just flagged Tide and Ember as a reputational risk. New orders will require a 50% deposit. Our current contract allows payment at month end. Existing deliveries remain under the contract. New orders do not." "Victor, the videos have not been verified." "I know, but if your customers disappear, we still have to pay fishermen." I did not blame him. Suppliers could not pay their bills with loyalty. I asked, "Give me 7 days. I will provide a bank guarantee for the next 3 orders." Victor nodded. 7 days. He had barely left when 2 inspectors from the Chicago Department of Public Health entered with a police officer assisting them. The lead inspector, Denise Porter, showed her credentials. "We received complaints about unapproved food products, improper temperature control, and foreign objects in takeout meals. This is an unannounced inspection. I will cooperate." I stopped accepting new customers, asked Maya to refund anyone unwilling to wait, and opened every part of the kitchen. Denise checked temperature logs, invoices, prep areas, freezers, dry storage, sinks, pest control contracts. We had retained samples from the previous evening's meal boxes under our internal safety procedure. Everything was compliant. There were 2 minor issues. One employee had forgotten to record the time a sauce container was opened. One cardboard case sat too close to the floor. We corrected both immediately. The inspection was nearly complete when one inspector opened the lowest drawer of an auxiliary freezer. He pulled out a white foam box with no Tide and Ember label. Inside were 4 vacuum-sealed packages containing dark pieces of meat and skin with hair still attached. Denise looked at me. "What is this?" "I do not know." Another employee put on gloves and lifted one package. "It may be rodent meat." The kitchen froze. Maya stood beside me, her face white. I said, "Seal it. Nobody touches anything else. Check every camera and all storage access records." At that moment, Aaron Blake stepped out of the dish area. Aaron had worked as a prep cook for 3 years. I had paid for his food safety certification. When his mother needed heart surgery, I gave him paid leave. Aaron looked directly at Denise. "The owner knows about that meat." I turned sharply. "What did you just say?" "Ms. Brooks told me to buy cheap meat and mix it into lamb meatballs for the staff menu. She said if we seasoned it heavily, nobody would know." I heard Maya inhale. "Aaron, we do not sell lamb meatballs." She planned to add them to the catering menu. Tide and Ember does not yet have an official catering menu. She said to test them first. Denise raised a hand to stop the argument. "Nobody is reaching a conclusion here. The material will be sampled, sealed, and traced. But because unidentified food was found in active cold storage, we have to issue a temporary closure order until the risk is determined." "How long?" 72 hours initially. It may be extended if testing or the investigation is not complete. It was not a conviction, but to the public, a sign reading "Closed by order of CDPH" looked like one. I signed the temporary closure notice and wrote that I did not admit knowledge or ownership of the material. After the inspectors left, I locked the entire storage area. "Call the police," I told Maya. Aaron laughed. "Go ahead. Who do you think they will believe?" "Police do not need to believe me. They need to examine evidence." He moved toward the exit. Marcus and 2 employees blocked the doorway without touching him. I said, "Aaron, you may leave your shift, but police have been called and the entrance camera is recording. If you drive away, I will provide your license plate." Aaron stopped. For the first time, the calm on his face cracked. Police arrived 15 minutes later. They did not arrest Aaron simply because I accused him. They took statements, copied the shift schedule and door code list, and instructed us to preserve electronic records. The meat remained in CDPH's chain of custody. A technician reviewing the camera system discovered that the cold storage camera had lost power from 2:14 to 3:02 a.m. It had not randomly failed. The power cable behind the switch had been pulled out. The storage door account showed an entry at 2:21 using Aaron's code. He claimed he had arrived early to receive a delivery. No delivery had been scheduled at that hour. An alley camera from the neighboring building showed a person in a chef's jacket carrying a black cooler through the employee entrance. A cap concealed the face. But a license plate was visible in one corner of the frame. The vehicle was registered to Aaron Blake. I turned everything over to police. That afternoon, the live stream clip showing the inspectors opening the package spread across social media. Nobody shared the part where Denise said no conclusion had been reached. They shared only the moment the package was opened. My father called from Wisconsin. He had once proudly told neighbors that his daughter owned a restaurant in Chicago. His voice shook. "Evelyn, tell me the truth. Did you know about it?" "No. Your employee said on video that you ordered it." He lied. "Your mother is crying. Relatives have been calling all morning." "Do you believe me, or do you believe one edited clip?" He stayed silent. That silence hurt more than an accusation. Finally, he said, "I don't know what to believe." I ended the call before I cried. Maya stood outside the office, but did not enter. I wiped my face. What do you need? Nothing. I just wanted you to know I believe you. I nodded. Thank you. That evening, I called Walter Hale. Walter was 72 and had been a regular at Tide and Ember for nearly 5 years. He published a restaurant newsletter with a modest but highly respected readership among chefs, investors, and hotel executives. He had once run Hale Capital, then retired as CEO while remaining honorary chairman and advisor to the fund. I did not know the exact details of his investments. I only knew that when Walter booked a room, his guests were often bankers, real estate developers, or former city officials. He answered, Evelyn, you saw the news? Yes. Do you believe me? Walter did not answer immediately. I trust systems more than instinct. What records do you have? I described the camera outage, door code, license plate, and chain of custody. Then wait for the investigation. My reputation will not wait. What do you want from me? I want you to attend a tasting dinner on the day the restaurant is permitted to reopen, if CDPH lifts the order. To endorse you? No, I want you to eat and judge for yourself. But I need to tell you in advance that Vanessa Carlyle may appear. My husband is using her to pressure me into signing a divorce settlement. Walter laughed softly. You are setting a trap? I am creating a place where they cannot continue lying behind closed doors. I will not hide the risk from you. And if I decline? I will still investigate and reopen. All right. You agree? I agree to have dinner. I do not agree to be used as a pawn. If you try to manipulate me, I leave. Fair. 2 days later, lab results identified the meat as frozen nutria from a facility not licensed to supply restaurants. There was no evidence it had ever been cooked or mixed into a dish. The restaurant's invoices showed no related purchase. A specialty wild game store in Indiana provided a cash sale record. Its camera showed Aaron collecting the box 3 days before the inspection. Police obtained a warrant for his phone. A payment app showed 2 transfers from an LLC called Lakefront Communications. The total was $25,000. Lakefront Communications was a public relations contractor for North Lake Development. That same day, Ryan sent me an unsigned divorce proposal with a message. Sign it. You keep the restaurant. I keep the house and the investment accounts. This ends. I forwarded it to counsel. Then I replied with one sentence. From now on, communicate only through legal representatives. CDPH lifted the closure order after 6 days. The official notice stated, there was no evidence that Tide and Ember purchased, prepared, or served the unapproved product. The material had been introduced into the facility without authorization. The restaurant was permitted to reopen after sanitizing the storage area, replacing locks, upgrading cameras, and completing a reinspection. I posted the full notice with personal information redacted. No sad music. No declaration that I was a victim. No request for customers to attack anyone. I also announced that Aaron had been terminated and that a criminal investigation was ongoing. Some customers returned. Most did not. A reputation does not recover at the speed of a document. On reopening night, Walter arrived with 5 guests. There was a former hotel executive, an anti-fraud attorney, a retired investor, and 2 people whose names I knew, but whose backgrounds I did not. Maya led them into the rear private room. I had prepared a tasting menu: oysters with green apple granita, salmon lightly smoked over cherry wood, black cod with white miso, chowder made with a clear broth instead of heavy cream, and a refined seafood meal box based on the emergency menu that had saved our inventory. Walter tasted the final course and asked, "You are thinking about catering? Corporate meals, contract menus, centralized production, scheduled delivery. Not random discount boxes." Why? During the crisis, we sold more than 200 boxes in 2 hours. 13 offices later asked about recurring delivery. A restaurant depends too heavily on private events and review platforms. B2B contracts could create repeat revenue. And the risks? A commissary kitchen license, refrigerated vehicles, liability insurance, allergen controls, temperature holding, payroll, order systems, and consistent quality across thousands of meals. Walter nodded. At least you do not think putting food into boxes automatically creates a catering company. Dinner was nearly finished when reception spoke into Maya's earpiece. She came over and whispered, "Ryan and Vanessa are outside. 2 men are with them. Ryan says you asked him to come sign documents." I had told Ryan that my attorney would respond during the week and that he could collect a copy of the personal property inventory at the restaurant at 7. I had not agreed to sign a divorce settlement. I looked at Walter. "They are here. Do you want us to leave? There is a separate kitchen exit, but if you stay, I will not ask you to do anything." Walter looked at the others around the table. Nobody stood. "Tonight, we are customers," he said. "Handle uninvited visitors however your restaurant normally would." I told Maya to contact building security and preserve the footage. Before security arrived, the private room door flew open. Ryan entered first, carrying a folder. Vanessa followed in a white suit, with 2 men in dark jackets standing outside the doorway. Ryan threw the papers onto the table. "You are signing the divorce agreement tonight." I did not touch it. "Your attorney sent an invalid proposal. My attorney will respond." Vanessa looked around the room, her gaze settling on the older guests. She laughed. "This is your plan to save the restaurant? Give a few retirees free dinner and ask them to leave good reviews?" Walter lifted his water glass. "Young woman, this room is privately booked. You should leave." Vanessa turned toward him. "And who are you to order me around?" "A paying customer. Nobody pays here if Evelyn needs them to testify for her," I said. "Vanessa, you are trespassing in a private dining area and disrupting business. Security is on the way." She stepped closer. "You are still pretending to be a respectable owner. Your restaurant was caught with rat meat. If you did not have expensive lawyers, you would have lost your license. The CDPH notice says the product was planted. You paid 1 employee to change his story. How difficult could that be?" Walter set down his glass. "Do you have evidence for that bribery accusation?" Vanessa looked him up and down. "You are defending her because she fed you some fish?" One of the women at the table said, "You should choose your words carefully." Vanessa laughed louder. "You people think you are important? My father is executive chair of Northlake. Half the projects in the loop cross his desk. Your children may be waiting in line to apply for jobs at my company." Ryan grabbed her arm. "Vanessa, enough." She pulled away. "No. She needs to understand where she stands." Vanessa turned to me. "Ryan is keeping the house. You can keep this filthy kitchen, sign, then leave Chicago." I said, "Did you just admit that the goal is to force me out of the city? Who wants you here? Who instructed Lakefront Communications?" Ryan's expression changed. Vanessa froze for 1 beat. I continued. "The $25,000 paid to Aaron came from Northlake's communications contractor. Police have the records." Vanessa looked at Ryan. "You said she didn't know." Ryan stepped toward me as though he intended to pull me outside. Walter stood. He was not physically imposing, but the entire room became quiet. "Mr. Mercer, do not touch Ms. Brooks." Ryan turned. "This is between my wife and me." Walter replied, "No. When employees of a company use a corporate contractor to pay someone to plant evidence in a restaurant, it becomes a governance matter." Vanessa studied him more carefully. One of Walter's guests quietly raised a phone and continued recording. Walter said, "My name is Walter Hale." Ryan went rigid. Northlake was preparing a riverfront redevelopment worth more than $1 billion. Hale Capital was leading a private financing package of $180 million and was in final due diligence. Ryan knew. Vanessa knew too. She still tried to keep her voice steady. Mr. Hale, this is only a personal dispute. You just invoked your father's corporate power, threatened a business owner, made unsupported criminal accusations, and reacted when asked about a Northlake contractor. You cannot cancel a project because I was rude. Correct. I am not canceling anything because you were rude. Walter took out his phone. I am pausing funding and requesting an independent governance review regarding contractor use and conflicts of interest. If there is no problem, the process continues. If there is a problem, investors need to know. He called Hale Capital's chief investment officer in front of everyone. Pause the Northlake Riverfront commitment. Send the forensic review notice tonight. Vanessa's face drained of color. You cannot. This is not a personal decision. It is a governance condition in the term sheet. Her phone rang. The screen showed Thomas Carlyle. She answered. The man's voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. Vanessa, where are you? Hale Capital just stopped due diligence. Legal says there is video of you at a restaurant. What did you do? Vanessa looked around. There was no arrogance left. Only fear. Dad, I can explain. Come home now. The call ended. The two men with Vanessa backed away from the doorway when security arrived. I requested trespass notices against Vanessa and Ryan. Ryan looked at me. You arranged this. I invited customers to dinner. The two of you forced your way in. You knew who Hale was. I knew he had influence. I also warned him that there might be a confrontation. He chose to stay. Vanessa pointed at me. You provoked me into coming. I told Ryan to collect a personal property inventory. Nobody invited you to threaten customers, insult older people, or discuss lakefront communications. Security escorted them out. Walter sat down again. I looked at him. You still think I used you? You used the situation. I'm sorry. Do not apologize if you would do it again. I thought for several seconds. I would tell you more before you arrived, but I would still allow them to speak for themselves. Walter nodded. That is an acceptable answer. He pointed at the meal box on the table. Now continue telling me about catering. The next morning, a black Bentley stopped in front of the restaurant. Thomas Carlyle stepped out. He was about 60, with neatly cut silver hair, a cashmere coat, and a calm expression that felt more dangerous than anger. Ms. Brooks, he said, can we speak privately? My lawyer had told me not to enter his car or meet in a closed room. I indicated an outdoor table covered by cameras. We can talk here. Thomas sat. My daughter is hot-tempered. Ryan is ambitious. The two of them turned a small matter into a disaster. An unpaid invoice was not the disaster. Planting evidence was a crime. Nobody has proved Vanessa ordered it. Police are investigating. He placed a thin envelope on the table. Inside was a proposed $300,000 settlement tied to a non-disclosure agreement and civil release. You withdraw public accusations, stop mentioning Northlake, do not contest Ryan in the divorce, and arrange a private meeting between me and Walter Hale. Why would I arrange that? He trusts you. He trusts records. Thomas smiled. You are intelligent. $300,000 is enough to stabilize the restaurant, pay suppliers, and start again somewhere else. Tide and Ember has reopened. Your reputation has not. So are you paying for silence or paying for access? Both? I pushed the envelope back. If I accepted money to deliver you to Walter, I would prove exactly what you believe, that trust is only a commodity. The softness left Thomas's eyes. You think Walter will protect you forever? I do not need him to protect me forever. I need the legal system to function long enough for evidence to surface. Thomas stood. You are confronting people with more resources than you understand. I understood that the moment your daughter expected to eat for free. He left. 2 hours later, 3 food influencers with large audiences posted questions about Tide and Ember. The second campaign had begun. The new videos did not directly claim that Tide and Ember had served nutria meat. They used safer language. Has this restaurant really been cleared? Why is the owner so close to a major investor? Did money and influence help restore the license? Each person said only part of it. Together, they created a story suggesting that I had purchased the outcome. I did not respond immediately. I hired a digital forensics consultant to trace posting times, intermediary agencies, and campaign codes. My attorney sent preservation notices to the platforms and to Lakefront Communications. Maya asked, "You are not going live?" "Not yet." Customers are canceling again. I know. So what are we waiting for? Something they cannot dismiss as performance. Meanwhile, Walter reviewed my draft plan for Tideworks corporate meals. At that point, it was only a working name. The model included a commissary kitchen separate from the restaurant, office lunch contracts, rotating menus, a meal ordering portal, allergen controls, and temperature-controlled delivery vehicles. Walter said, "I can introduce you to 3 companies in our portfolio, but nobody will sign until the criminal case is clearer." I understand. And if Hale Capital invests, we are not purchasing gratitude. We receive equity, audit rights, and safety standards above the legal minimum. I do not need a kind older man to rescue me. That is why the conversation is worth having. I did not accept funding immediately. I hired a food safety consultant, completed a HACCP analysis, applied for a commissary kitchen permit, priced refrigerated vehicles, and purchased product liability insurance. Every figure was larger than I expected. Catering was not simply putting food into containers and driving away. One allergen mistake could send someone to the hospital. One late vehicle could ruin hundreds of meals. A school food contract required competitive bidding, background checks, nutritional standards, and significantly higher insurance coverage than a restaurant. I decided that the first phase would serve only private offices. No schools. No hospitals. No promise to cover the entire central business district after 2 months. 3 weeks later, police and the Cook County prosecutor announced charges against Aaron Blake for unauthorized access to the storage system, fabrication of evidence, false statements, and accepting payment to damage a business. The announcement did not name Vanessa because the investigation into who directed the scheme was still active, but the public filing stated, Aaron purchased the nutria meat with cash. Cameras recorded Aaron's vehicle at the specialty meat store and in the alley behind Tide and Ember. Aaron's storage code was used when the camera was disconnected. Lakefront Communications transferred 2 payments, totaling $25,000 into his account. The meat did not match any dish, ingredient record, or retained food sample from Tide and Ember. CDPH reposted its conclusion that the restaurant had not served the product. 1 week later, Aaron entered an initial plea agreement. His attorney contacted me. Aaron wanted to give a public apology and complete testimony in exchange for consideration at sentencing. I did not agree to let him appear alone on one of my live streams. I said, "Any confession must go through counsel and cannot be used as advertising." We held a small press conference at my lawyer's office with local reporters, public records, and a nonprofit live stream with monetization disabled. Aaron sat beside his attorney. He looked thinner, with hollow eyes. Lakefront Communications contacted me through a man named Colin Voss, Aaron said. They paid me to place unapproved meat in the storage area, unplug the camera, and say Ms. Brooks had ordered it. I was promised another $10,000 if the restaurant lost its license. A reporter asked, Who gave Lakefront its instructions? Aaron's attorney stopped him from answering because that part remained under investigation. Aaron looked at me. Miss Brooks helped my family before. I still did this because I believed that after the restaurant closed, I would be hired by the kitchen of a hotel Northlake was developing. I am sorry. I did not say it was all right. I have heard the apology. The rest belongs to the court. After the legal statement, I stepped to the microphone. I did not tell the story through rehearsed tears. I presented a timeline, the booking email, the invoice, the unauthorized refund, the coordinated reviews, the fabricated videos, the lakefront transfers, the camera outage, the temporary closure, the reopening decision. I said, I know some people shared false information because they were frightened, not malicious. I am not asking anyone to attack Vanessa Carlisle, Ryan Mercer, Aaron Blake, or their families. I am only asking people not to turn suspicion into a verdict. The video was widely shared. Not everyone apologized. Some accounts quietly deleted their posts. 3 influencers issued corrections after counsel presented evidence that all of them had received a briefing and advertising fees through the same lakefront subcontractor. I did not win back every customer. I recovered enough trust for the restaurant to survive. Northlake's independent audit lasted almost 3 months. Walter did not serve on the investigative team. Hale Capital provided its due diligence conditions and waited for the findings. The report found that Thomas Carlisle had approved multiple community communications consulting payments with no clearly defined scope. Some of the funds had moved through Lakefront to handle personal matters and pressure people who could affect his family. The report also found that he concealed conflicts of interest in 2 projects, manipulated consulting fees, and used inside information to benefit a company connected to a relative. The board suspended Thomas. Securities regulators received the file. Northlake announced financial restatements, and the share price fell after the official disclosure, not because of my video. Vanessa was terminated for using a company contractor for personal purposes, creating conflicts of interest, and providing false information during the internal investigation. Ryan was also fired. System logs showed that he knew Lakefront was running a reputation pressure campaign against the restaurant and failed to report it. Emails also proved that he proposed using Tide and Ember's financial crisis to pressure me into signing an unfavorable divorce agreement. His unauthorized refund became evidence of poor financial judgment and conflict of interest. During the divorce, Ryan's attorney stopped trying to claim the restaurant. Tide and Ember was my separate business asset, although growth during the marriage still had to be valued. But the refund, sabotage, and plan to depress the company's value all became part of the record. It took 8 months to reach a settlement. The house was sold. Investment accounts were divided according to documentation. Ryan waived any claim to Tide and Ember in exchange for a larger share of the retirement funds. I did not sign out of pity. I signed because, after the forensic accountant completed the calculations, it was the cleanest way to separate him from the business. On the day the divorce became final, Ryan stood outside the courthouse. He no longer wore the tailored suits he had favored at Northlake. His coat was wrinkled, his beard uneven, and his eyes red from lack of sleep. "I'm going back to Indiana," he said. "My mother said I can stay with her." I nodded. I wanted to apologize. "I hear you. I do not expect you to forgive me." "All right." Ryan looked at me for a long time. "If I had not chosen Vanessa that day, do you think we could still have been happy?" I thought about the basement apartment we once rented, the folding table where he helped me calculate food costs, the nights we painted the restaurant together, our plans to have a child. All of it had once been real. But truth in the past does not guarantee loyalty in the future. "You are asking only because the road you chose failed," I said. "If you had become a director and Vanessa still had influence, Would you be standing here? Ryan did not answer. I took a prepaid interstate bus card from my bag, loaded with enough for his trip to Indiana and several meals. Take this. He stared at the card. Do you pity me? No, this is goodbye. He accepted it. I walked away. Tideworks signed its first contract with a law firm, employing 120 people. Not an entire skyscraper. Not thousands of meals immediately. 120 meals, 3 days a week. We leased a commissary kitchen in the near west side, far enough from Tide and Ember that production would not depend on the restaurant dining room. Marcus moved into production leadership. Maya became director of operations. I hired a food safety specialist with the authority to stop the entire line if a temperature reading or allergen label was wrong. Walter invested through Hale Capital after due diligence was complete. He did not receive operating control. I retained control. Hale Capital received an observer seat, audit rights, and a clearly defined preferred return. No vague handshake. No claim that friends did not need contracts. During the first month, we delivered late twice. One employee applied the wrong label to a meal containing nuts. The verification system caught it before the truck left, but all 70 meals had to be remade. We lost money on the first contract for 6 weeks. I did not hide it. I informed the client, issued a corrective action report, and added a barcode-based allergen check. By the 4th month, Tideworks had 5 corporate clients. 1 year later, we won a lunch contract for 2 charter schools after a long process involving kitchen inspection, nutritional review, and pilot service. I did not use Walter's reputation to bypass the process. I used revenue records, safety documentation, and on-time delivery rates. Tide and Ember remained open. I did not turn it entirely into a catering company. The restaurant reduced its menu, cut back the number of private events, and focused on tasting menus and seasonal seafood. People who came only because of the scandal gradually disappeared. Real customers stayed. 2 years after the night Vanessa expected to eat for free, I stood in the Tideworks office overlooking the kitchen. Maya brought in a report. On-time delivery this month is 98.7%. Both schools want to renew. A hospital asked about a pilot program for the night shift. Decline the hospital until nutrition and insurance review it. I knew you would say that. My phone rang. Walter, I heard you turned down a large hospital contract. We are not ready. You used to take more risks. I used to think risk was courage. And now? Knowing your limits is what keeps a business alive. I ended the call and walked down to the packing line. 3 rules were painted on the wall. Do not use ingredients that cannot be traced. Do not hide mistakes. Do not use people as the cost of someone else's ambition. The last line was not a food safety standard. It was mine. Vanessa believed a free dinner could purchase Ryan's future. Ryan believed my restaurant was an asset he had the right to sacrifice. Thomas believed money could turn truth into a private meeting. Aaron believed my kindness made me easy to betray. They were all wrong in the same way. They believed that what I had built could be taken if enough pressure was applied. The restaurant had been shut down. My marriage ended. My reputation fell so far that I became afraid to open my phone. But what saved me was not one powerful man, one live stream, or a crowd suddenly changing sides. It was documentation, procedure, honest people, and the ability to rebuild the business model when the old one was no longer safe. Maya called from the loading door. Evelyn, the first truck is about to leave. I checked the clock. Temperatures? Scanned. Allergens? Double-checked. Send it. The loading door opened. The refrigerated truck rolled into the street, carrying 180 meals to offices that had once known my name only through a scandal. I did not need them to remember whom I had defeated. I only needed them to open the box, eat a safe lunch, and order again the following week. That was how a business survived, and it was how I stepped out of Ryan, Vanessa, and the Carlisle family's story. Not by forcing them to kneel, by building something that no longer required their permission to exist.